Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cooking with Country Part 7. We are making our butternut squash linguine with sage and roasted Brussels sprouts. I'm Evan Castro. I am also known as Country here on the property and at the winery. I am the sous chef here at Brickler Vineyards.
I'm Chris Richard, also known as Chris, and I'm Director of Sales and Hospitality. My name's Mikey DePaulo. I'm the estate gardener, growing lots of vegetables and making things look pretty around here.
But what do they call you?
Farmer Mikey.
There you go.
There
you go.
See,
I mean,
you've got a name. You've got a nickname. Before we get any further, I just want to go over with you guys. We do have you all muted. If you do have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat. We have Taylor here on the computer. She will be answering any questions and letting me know what the questions are. Like I said, feel free to ask as many questions as possible. Just type them in on the chat room, please, and try not to unmute yourself. Another thing, make sure you've got all of your ingredients. Your pot of water should be on your back burner, simmering away right now for our pasta. Just make sure you double check and make sure you got everything. Sheet tray as well for the Brussels sprouts and all that good stuff. So we'll pass it off to Chris and let him talk about the wine really quick, and we'll pour a glass.
Cool. Sounds good. If you guys don't really know about us, who we are, Brickler Vineyards here. We are in Russian River Valley, Windsor, California, and we are a very small family vineyard here. We have about 9 different varietals that we do right now that are bottled, and in the future, starting next year, we'll probably have another 4 to add on to our addition, which is going to be very exciting. But on this property, we grow a lot of Pinot and Chardonnay, and tonight we are doing our beautiful 2019 Unoaked Chardonnay, which actually is our first for Quarantine Kitchen or Cooking with Country. We have not done this 19, which I've been very excited because I feel like the 18 was amazing, but I kind of prefer the 19 Unoaked.
I like this one a little more,
It's a little bit better too. So it is 100% stainless steel fermentation, no wood chips, no malolactic fermentation. It is a really clean and very crisp Chardonnay. I would say it's more of a French style, more Sancerre, Chablis, a lot of green apple notes, a little citrus in there, which is amazing to pair with a lot of different seafoods. We talked about doing some
barbecue chicken with it, doing some shrimp scampi with it would be fantastic as well.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit with this one, I feel like.
Yeah, it for a Chardonnay, even though it's stainless, you still have a little bit of creaminess and body on the finish. It's not over the top. It's not a butter bomb Chardonnay. It's more fruity. But I think for this pairing, it's going to go amazing. So I will let Country and Farmer Mikey get to work here and enjoy. But I will pour you some on right now.
I would love to get
Don't forget about our splash here, man.
You guys would
We got a cheers and everything.
take me down if I leave before the wine.
Yeah, exactly. Trimming.
Trimming.
Trim.
We'll make you guys drink tonight, don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure. I have no doubt about it. All right, everybody. Make sure you got your glass of Unoaked Chardonnay, and cheers to Cooking with Country Part 7. Cheers, Mikey.
Cheers.
To Hollywood.
It's good to be back. Good to be back.
I was gonna say Hollywood.
Road to Hollywood. Oh, God, this is so good.
That is nice.
This is really good. All right. So, like I said, we are cooking butternut squash linguine with sage, and we're also doing some roasted Brussels sprouts to go with this. Just a little heads up, guys, before I start and before we get too far into it. I am using fresh spaghetti today. I have made this here at the property. For you guys at home, if you're using fresh pasta, that's going to be about a 8 to 10 minute fire in the water. If you're using dried pasta, it's going to be about a 12 to 15 minute cook time on that. So if you are using dried pasta, I will let you know at a certain point in the show to go ahead and put it into your pot and start cooking it, just because we will not be on the same time, schedule as the fresh pasta. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started on making our sauce right now. So what we've got is we're doing butternut squash. So this is from our property. This big boy right here is 3 pounds. The recipe calls for 2 pounds of butternut squash. One thing, that I was talking with Mikey is you can use other squash if you'd like. If you can't find butternut squash at your local market, or if you're not growing it, there are a lot of good options. Mikey, what would you prefer?
Winter squash is like an entire world of variety. they all have a similar quality in that they're nutty and sweet, but different types of winter squash. Some are a little darker in color, some are a little more kind of caramely, sweeter, some are a little bit lighter, but they all generally do the same job. So if you're looking for winter squash, I mean, I grew quite a few this season. This is the Koji nut squash. Sorry, live TV. You know, this is a variety that we really like here. It's pretty prolific. We've used it in a lot of different recipes. Really fun, mild flavor, a little sweetness. This, even though it looks significantly different, the flesh is pretty similar color. This is called Tetsu Kabotu. This is a Japanese variety of squash. I really like Japanese winter squash. They make amazing varieties of squash. And then, you know, you could really use anything that you're growing that qualifies as winter squash, maybe except for like delicata, because those are a little different. But yeah, spaghetti squash wouldn't work for this because they have that stringy texture, but pretty much anything else in the winter squash variety could qualify.
I will say, if you want to use spaghetti squash in replacement of the pasta, it will work just as good. Just you don't need to make a sauce, obviously. Just use the sage. Saute your spaghetti squash or roast it with a little bit of sage in there, olive oil, salt and pepper, and you know you'll have a great substitution if you want to do a gluten-free option or a vegetarian option for this dish. So there's a little tip for you guys too if you want to use some spaghetti squash. But let's go ahead and get started on cleaning up our butternut. So what we're going to do, mine is a 3-pounder, so I'm going to cut a little section off so that way Mikey will have 2 pounds over there. But one thing that we want to start off by doing is cutting each end of our butternut. It is very key that you have a sharp knife for this process. These squashes are very tough, and if you have a dull knife, it is going to slip really easily. So really make sure that you have a nice sharp knife. And we're going to go ahead and start by peeling the outer skin off of our butternut squash. I really like these peelers just because they really work really well with awkward vegetables like this. You get a really nice clean contact onto the squash, so that way it peels all the skin off. If you don't have a good peeler at home, or if you don't have a potato peeler or a vegetable peeler at home, another thing you can do is cut your squash completely in half like so, and just stand it up and follow the skin and just cut it all off with your knife. But because we have a vegetable peeler, I'm going to use it. But I just want to show you guys that, so that way you have any little tips and tricks for not having a potato or a peeler at home. We're just going to get this all peeled up. Slippery.
Yeah, they're pretty slippery.
Do be careful. They are very slippery. If this happens, just use a towel to grip your butternut squash or whatever squash it is you're using, so you can peel it really easily.
What's your inspiration on this recipe?
My inspiration on this recipe is that this is a vegan recipe if you take out the cheese. And I really love pasta, and I love making creamy sauces with my pasta. And this really acts as, we don't put any butter or anything in this. And it's a super creamy sauce, and it's really nice, really refreshing and light. So it's one of my favorite recipes to do, especially when it's getting cold. It's nice and warm and just fall and winter like.
Was it done like in the restaurants for the past, or just something you did?
Nope, something that I did when I was at home. I started eating vegan just recently, so I was trying to find some recipes to do at home for vegan eating, and this was one of the recipes that I found, and I kind of tweaked it my own way, added the sage into it, a little bit of chili flakes. That way, it's kind of my own twist on it. So we're cutting our butternut squash completely in half. We are going to scoop out these seeds, and the best way to do that is with a spoon, which you don't have much on yours.
Yeah. So one of the cool things about butternut squash, so this all came from the same squash, right? You see the whole seed pod right there? Well, this whole other end of it doesn't have any seeds in it. It's pretty much just ready to go. And so they're really easy to cook with, and they have a lot of flesh that you can use. So butternut squash are great.
I really love butternut squash. I love the flavor and everything. It's one of my favorites. Another little fun fact too for this recipe, if you guys want to make a good soup, this would act as a really good base for a soup. You could add a little bit of cream or butter if you'd like. Coconut milk even would be great if you want to keep it vegan. Really good on this sauce recipe. So I mean, it's not only just a pasta sauce, it's many things. You can make it a soup, you can make it a pasta sauce. You know, it's one of those 2-for-1 recipes. So it's a lot of fun.
The seeds, did you say the seeds or the?
If you're, so Taylor just asked, you know, what can you do with the seeds from the butternut squash? If you have a lot of seeds from the squash, you can save them and roast those like you would with pumpkins, and they would make a very good snack. The only thing with that is make sure that you soak them in water, cold water to be exact, just to get all that pulpiness off, and that way it just cleans up the seeds really nicely. And you can roast those in an oven with some salt, pepper, and olive oil, and they would be a great, great snack. So we've got our butternut squash all cut in half and cleaned up. So all we're going to do is do a rough chop on this. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or specific. You can cube it as well. It is all going to be blended in. So I'm just going to do some half-moon cuts. I'm going about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick on these. And then I'm going to cut them in half, my half moons, right down the middle. And this one will be for you, my friend.
You want to share with me?
Oh, yeah. And make sure you got 2 pounds of butternut squash so your sauce comes out nice and thick. All right, so we're almost done with this. All right, so that's the first step on our recipe. We're gonna put this to the side. Give you a bowl right there, buddy.
Nice.
Of course. All right, so next up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna dice our onion. We're using 1 medium yellow onion. How's everybody doing? Are we all doing okay? Is everyone kind of keeping up with pace? Let me know if we're going too fast.
We can always stop and drink wine. It's okay.
Yeah.
You guys should.
We've got a nice full glass of Unoaked Chardonnay that we gotta take a sip of here.
Before it gets warm.
Yeah, you know, you don't want warm wine. You want to keep chilled
If
wine.
you didn't have
Cheers,
access
everybody.
to the Unoaked Chardonnay, what's another one?
You know, I would do probably a Sauvignon Blanc. That would go really, really well. If you have a Pinot Gris, that would go well too.
So for you guys at home, if you didn't hear Taylor's question, she just asked Chris, you know, what other wines could you use in this recipe if you don't have access to the Unoaked Chardonnay? And he's saying Sauv Blanc, a Pinot Gris would be really good with this. Pinot Blanc as well.
You could do, I mean, if you have some European varietals, you could do, like I mentioned, a Sancerre.
Sancerre
You
would
could
be
do a
really good.
Chablis. An Albarino is amazing too.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of different stuff that you can actually that will kind of match up to what the unoaked is too.
So there's a lot of options.
I think this recipe is really versatile to what we can put with it. But I think when we tried it, for us, the unoaked Chardonnay really matched up with the flavors of the pasta.
I agree.
Would you say that the unoaked is pretty versatile in itself?
I think so. You know, I think for, you know, when you think about a heavier, creamier Chardonnays, it's a little bit more limited what you can pair with it. To where, you know, you got a Chardonnay with more acid, more fruit to it. I think you can have a lot more that you can pair with it. So yeah.
Can you guys hear Chris out there? Thumbs up if you can. Yeah, sweet.
All right, so
No one can.
yeah. Next thing we're doing is we're dicing our onion. So we're cutting that in half, cutting each end of the onion off and peeling that outer skin out of there. And I like to take the whole first layer out just because there's a little invisible skin on the onions typically that will stick around, and you don't want to keep that on there because it will affect the flavor of your food. And we're just going for like a medium dice on this. Nothing crazy. Like I said, we're sauteing all this. It's all getting blended in the end. We just want it to be somewhat of a medium cut on everything. So that way when we saute it, it all cooks up really nicely and gets nice and soft and translucent. So nothing crazy on this. Just cutting my onion 3 ways here. And going right into it. Like I said, medium dice on this. So
Rustic.
very rustic. This whole recipe is a very rustic recipe. It's nothing crazy. And it's a very quick recipe too. This is a great recipe to be using when you come home from work after a long day and you just want something really hearty and warm during these cold months. This is a great recipe. It's a really quick one, like I was saying, so it doesn't take a lot of time.
Mary asked a question for Chris. She says, how is this wine different from a traditional Russian River Chardonnay?
So the question was from Mary, how is this wine different from a traditional Russian River? And this is for Chris. We're gonna have Chris come over here so that way we can all hear him, because when he's standing back there, we can't really hear your beautiful voice.
Oh, stop it. We also want to see your face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Mary.
Oh my God, you guys.
we miss
I'm
you.
blushing over here.
I know. That's my
Yeah, that's a great question, Mary. What makes it so unique and different? I mean, obviously, Russian River is really known for Chardonnays, and there's so many different ways of how to make a Chardonnay. The difference on this is 100% stainless steel fermentation, so there's no oak that's involved. And when you have no oak on a Chardonnay, it really delivers a little bit of higher acid. It has more fruit. So that's where the green apples is really going to kick in, the citrus flavors. So it makes it really different than your typical oakier Chardonnay. And when you throw in an oak, it kind of hides the fruit. It kind of comes out more creamy flavors, more butterscotch, caramel. And then you're kind of limited on what you can really pair with it. With an oakier, more traditional Russian River Chardonnay, you're looking more like a scallop, more creamy pasta dishes, right, Evan?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just quite different that way. I mean, it's all about how you make the Chardonnay.
Yeah.
And that's every winemaker is very different. Every winery is very different. That's what's so fun about coming wine tasting and seeing what every winery has to offer, because they're all very different.
Yeah.
I mean, just because we all grow the same varietal, they're not alike at all. And some people will oak it, 8 months. Some people oak it 16 months. Some people go half and half stainless steel and oak. So some people go full mallow. Some people go no mallow. So there's so many different ways, and I think that's what switches up the flavor profile. So
I'd never had an unoaked before.
No?
I love this.
And, when you go to France, I mean, it's really a lot of the unoaks are from the European side of it. I mean, they really, they're Chablis, they're Burgundies out there. The Chardonnay is Burgundy, and it's a white Burgundy pretty much. And you go out there, and it's traditionally more stainless steel. Some will oak it, but they'll go more neutral oak than new oak, and that really kind of balances out the flavors and keeps more of the fruit. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Fun facts from Chris there. Always nice. How's it treating you?
I had to get one.
No, I don't blame you. I've been doing it while Chris was talking. I mean, it's just, you can't put it down.
Do I make you thirsty?
A little bit. All right, so onions are chopped. We have our butternut squash chopped. The next step we're moving on to is getting our garlic chopped. For this recipe, it is 2 cloves of garlic. I just smashed them and peeled the outer skin off, and I'm cutting this little end off because it does give a little bit of a bitterness to it. So I'm going to cut that right off. And it's just a rough chop on this, guys. Like I said, everything is just being sauteed and then blended. So we don't have to do, mincing or anything or brunoise of any of our stuff.
I want to see the razor blade.
We're not going to show the razor
Shane's
blade.
not doing it. You got to do it.
I mean, I know. Next one.
All right.
We will. Don't worry. I promise. Yes. So once we've got our 2 cloves of garlic chopped, if you want to add more garlic into this, I mean, by all means. I usually, when I'm making this at home, I'll use 4 cloves of garlic in this recipe just because I love garlic so much and love that flavor. So, like I said, this can be adjusted to however you like it. If you like more garlic, add more garlic. If you don't like a lot of garlic, then just go ahead and tone it back a little bit. The next step we're going to do now is we're going to chop our sage. So the recipe calls for a tablespoon of sage. That's about 1 bunch's worth of picked sage leaves. These have been grown on our property very nicely from good old Mikey over here.
Right outside the kitchen door, in fact.
Yeah, right behind our kitchen. If you guys haven't been to the property yet, by all means, make a reservation, come on out, enjoy one of our food experiences, our roots, sip and savor. We did just change up our menu. We did take off one of our charcuterie boards. We only are offering a classic spread, but don't let that discourage you. It is still really good. We're doing some fun things on it, some fried pork rillette, house-made. We're doing our house-made copa. We do have a grilled cheese sandwich on the menu and a fall salad along with a tomato bisque with truffle butter. And it is to die for. It is so good. If you guys haven't tried it, please make your way out to the property and try it. It is a really, really good recipe. It's one of our favorites, especially with it getting cold right now. Something to warm up the soul and really make you warm and fuzzy on the inside.
But you're leaving something out. You got your regular grilled cheese, but what can you add to that?
That is true. Chris is bringing up a very good point. With that grilled cheese, with the fontina cheddar, caramelized onions, and apple, you can also add prosciutto cotto to that grilled cheese, and that makes it even better. Who doesn't love ham on the grilled cheese? I mean, am I right, Mikey?
Absolutely. I got one the other day, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
And as usual, Country mentioned the fall salad. The tomato bisque is also coming from the last picking of tomatoes that I did. They got once your tomato plants get a hard frost, they generally die off. If you're diligent about it and you wait for the very first hard frost and then you pick the rest of your tomatoes, they'll be really kind of soft and they get a little sweetness and all the sugars kind of coalesce because of the first hard frost. You got to pick them and use them right away, and the kitchen did, and they made this tomato bisque with them, and it's really, really good.
It's a really, really good tomato bisque, guys.
That's a great question. If you don't have fresh sage, you can use.
So Taylor had a question for us. If we don't have fresh sage on hand, we can use dried sage on this. If you're going to use dried sage, though, for this recipe, I would do half a tablespoon of dried sage, just because it's more intense in flavor when you use any kind of a dry herb with any of your cooking versus a fresh herb. So if you're doing that, make sure you cut it in half because it will overpower your sauce or whatever it is that you're making. Great question, though. So all we're doing with this sage is we're doing a rough chop on it. We're not going too crazy with it. As you guys can see, it's just a rough chop. We're not doing anything super fancy. So now that we've got our sage done, our garlic, our onions, and our butternut squash, we're going to switch over here to our second camera and start cooking up our sauce right now. So just give us a second to kind of adjust and make that transition really quick. Good. There we go. All right. So in the recipe, I did say to use a large skillet. Make sure you're using a deep skillet when you're doing this recipe because we are adding 2 cups of stock into this to cook our butternut squash. For us here at the kitchen, we're using what I call a medium-sized stock pot. I know it looks a lot bigger than everybody at home. But just because we're putting some liquid in here, I wanted to have a lot of depth to it, so that way we are not splashing all of our stock out of the pan. But for you guys at home, just make sure it's a deep saute pan. That's all that we want to start with. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by turning on our heat. We're going to start off on a high heat just to get our pan kind of hot right now. We will turn it down once I start adding in the ingredients, just so that way it doesn't burn. Make sure you have either a rubber spatula or a wooden spoon with you. Metal spoon works just as well too. If you're using a nonstick pan, I would not recommend using metal on your nonstick because that will scratch off all the nonstick coating. So what we're gonna do, add in our 2 tablespoons worth of olive oil. I know in the past cooking with countries, I have mentioned using grapeseed oil is a great oil. It's got a higher smoke temp. We're using olive oil because we're making a sauce out of this. So we want that flavor of that olive oil. It's got some grassy and spiciness into it, and we really want that earthy flavor in our sauce mixed in with everything. So 2 tablespoons of olive oil into the pot on high heat. For everybody at home, make sure you've got it on high heat. We just want to get our oil hot enough to where it's shimmering. We don't want to get it too hot because if you get it to the point where it's smoking, you are going to burn your olive oil, and that's going to affect the flavor of your sauce, and we don't want to do that. So at this point, My olive oil is nice and shimmery, and it's just about to get hot. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in our onions first. No better smell than sauteing onions and garlic. It's one of the best things that I love to do at home. Really permeates the house and makes it smell nice. So we're going to put in our onions. We're going to add a little pinch of salt. What that's going to do is just release the moisture on the salt and help us with sweating our onions and sauteing them. We're not trying to caramelize this. We're just trying to sweat them until they're translucent. So I'm turning down my heat. I'm going to a medium heat. For you guys at home, go to a medium to medium high heat, depending on how powerful your stove is or how hot your pan is as well. So we're just going to go ahead and saute these up a little bit. We're just trying to sweat these until they're a little bit translucent. We're not trying to get too much color on them. We're not trying to go too crazy. If we do get a lot of color on them, that's going to affect the flavor of our sauce and the color as well. So as you can see, giving it a good stir, letting it hang out. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and add in our butternut squash because we do want to start sauteing that as well. So this is our 2 pounds of butternut squash. Hang on, lots of one over there. Hand down, hand down. Don't worry, we got it, we got it. Crisis averted. So we're going to add in our butternut squash into here with our onions. Give that just a little bit of a saute. Nothing too crazy. We're not trying. The whole cooking of the butternut squash is going to come when we add in our stock, and we're going to let it simmer, and that's what's going to really soften this up so we can blend it. So we're just doing this just to give it a little bit of a flavor, just kind of kickstart that cooking process. Nothing too wild or crazy here. Everyone doing good at home? You know, give me a thumbs up if we're doing good. Thumbs down if you need a little more time. Oh, can you guys hear me? Oh, sorry. I saw a thumbs up from Sherry over there in the corner. Oh, and the screen's on. So, at this point, we've let our butternut squash kind of saute a little bit. Now we're going to add in our sage and our garlic. What this is going to do is really allow the sage to infuse with our sauce and permeate and let all that good sagey flavor go into the pot. That's our tablespoon of sage, 2 cloves of garlic, our 1 medium onion, and our 2 pounds worth of butternut squash. At this point, I'm going to add another pinch of salt. One of the key things to cooking is really layering your flavor. So salting pretty much most of the steps of the way really builds that layer of flavoring and really creates that final product of deliciousness that you're looking for. Oh yeah. It smells amazing, guys. I mean, like I said, onions, garlic, sauteing with sage. It's one of the best smells, especially right now during the Thanksgiving winter time. Really one of my favorite smells to be smelling right now. And like I said, it fills the house up. And whenever, when people come home and smell that smell, it's just, they know it's winter time.
I'm feeling pretty festive right now, man. This is the first time I've smelled like this smell since the holiday season has come around. And I'm really excited.
Every time you say smell,
Yeah, no, this is my favorite smell. I mean, this is, whenever I'm at home, I really try to make like a nice big soup of some sort and really make a nice mirepoix, saute into a pot to really add that smell into our house. And it's just, it's a really homey smell. I love it.
I can find you the cologne that matches that if you want.
Do you have the access to that cologne?
I can make it for you.
I haven't been able to find it.
I'll make it for you.
Hey, I've got a suggestion. For all of you cooking at home, I recommend that you do this, what I'm about to do right now.
Uh-oh.
Come in, take a big whiff.
Oh, don't spill your wine though.
I mean, it won't hurt.
They will. And it's good.
It's not wrong.
When you smell what you're cooking and you take a sip of your wine, it really affects the flavor. It's really great.
All right, so back to our cooking. As much as we love our wine, it's great. We're adding our 1/8 of a teaspoon of chili flakes at this point. What this is going to do is just really add more flavor into our sauce. We're not going too crazy because one of the things is when you add chili flakes and saute it, it really intensifies the spice. So make sure that you're not going too crazy with it. If you are into spice, then add in 1/4 teaspoon's worth of chili flake in there. And as you can see, our pot, we're getting a little bit of caramelization there, a little fond kind of buildup, which is all really good flavors. It's not burnt. It's all nice and caramelized. So what we're going to do is go ahead and add in our stock to deflate that and to start the cooking process of the butternut squash. So at this point, I'm lowering my heat to a medium low. It's a low heat. And we're just going to let this simmer. Now, if you guys have a lid at home for your sauté pans, this would be a good time to go ahead and cover up your vegetables, so that way it really helps the cooking process. It will steam your butternut squash and just really aid into the speeding of cooking this sauce. We don't have pot or lids for these pots, so we're going to go ahead and let them simmer away on a medium low heat and kind of let it simmer. And then we're going to go ahead and switch back over to our cutting board and start cooking our Brussels sprouts. So let's go ahead and switch it back. Camera one.
How's everybody doing out there?
Yeah, how are you guys doing? How's everyone doing? Are we smelling the delicious sage and onion and garlic flavor? Thumbs up if you're doing good, thumbs down. Make sure you ask any kind of questions. Type it in our chat room. Oh, we got a question.
What protein could you add to this dish?
Ooh, that's a great question, Mary. So Mary's asking, what protein could you add to this dish? And Mikey's going to take this away. I think I know what he's going to say. But...
I would say an Italian sausage with fennel in it. That's what I would say.
That's exactly what I was going to say, actually. Chicken would go good with this as well. That would be a really good one. But in all honesty, Italian sausage would be the best for this. I mean, it's one of those classic pairings in the culinary world of sausage, sage, and butternut.
You would do shrimp.
Shrimp would be a good one
I think
too.
you could do shrimp.
You could do shrimp. I mean, I'm really leaning towards the sausage.
I mean, everything's
I'm sorry.
a little bit healthier, maybe some shrimp.
Yes, if you are trying to go on the healthier, lighter side, definitely go for some shrimp. I mean, if you're trying to go all out and just kind of, have that gut bomb of a deliciousness, go with the sausage. That's what I say.
You can do chicken apple sausage.
Yeah, chicken apple sausage,
You can do both.
chicken breast. You can do both chicken sausage and pork sausage. I mean, the sky's the limit with this, guys. I mean, you can do a lot of things with it.
I can't wait.
Oh, we got another question?
Nora, I think it's time for a drink because Nora says, sorry, we're behind. Did you add the broth yet?
So Nora asked if we added the broth at this point. Yes, add the broth into your pot. Turn your heat down to a medium low to low heat. We just want to simmer this. We don't want to be, rapid boiling this, because if you do have it at a rapid boil, it will reduce your stock and then you'll have nothing left. So we don't want to do that. So we're going to take another sip of our delicious wine here. Oh.
You boil this straight racket, so that's better. That's better.
Cheers, Mikey.
Gotta check.
I appreciate it. That's the whole point of having the partnership. is
Tandem.
Someone's looking out for me.
You cut my squash. I turned down the heat a little bit. It's all good.
Whoa.
See this dynamic duo here?
So do you typically drink Chardonnay?
I actually don't. I typically am a red wine fan. I really love my Cavs, my Zins.
You're one of those, huh?
I am one of those. But starting to work here, so just for you guys at home, Chris asked me if I'm typically a Chardonnay drinker, and I'm not, to be honest. I'm a heavy Cab, Pinot drinker, Zinfandel drinker as well. But ever since starting, my journey here at Brickler Vineyards and tasting all these delicious wines, the Viognier, the Unoaked Chardonnay, and our Sauv Blanc and our Chardonnay, I mean, all of those have really grown on me, especially that Viognier. The Viognier is still by far my favorite, and the Unoaked is getting up there and kind of trying to surpass that Viognier, but you know, there's something in my heart that really loves that Viognier a little.
I agree. Yeah,
I mean,
I've
for you, Mikey,
been
what do you-
converted, I think, a little bit. Yeah, I like my wine to taste like an old leather boot. I generally like it to be really dry, really peppery, and just kind of leave you like, you know, smacking your lips a little bit. So yeah, I like that. I like Italian red wines a lot. I also enjoy like a good table wine or a red blend. But
We have one of those coming out soon.
we do have a red blend coming out, and I'm really excited about it.
I'm super excited for
I'm
that
really
too.
excited
And our
to
cab that's
taste
coming
our
out too.
Syrah
That's
as
going to be a
well.
really
Yeah.
fun one.
Weird.
Yeah, so for all of you at home, I mean, get ready. We've got a lot more varieties coming out of this winery, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, Tommy's working hard over it. You know, at Punchdown, you know, picking and pressing all these wines and
It
making.
was Tommy.
Tommy is so. For all of you at home, if you don't know who Tommy is,
I think
he's
Tommy
our
is
assistant
Tommy.
winemaker. Tommy, get in here. Get in here, Tommy. Come on.
Camera 2 guy.
Tommy is our working
Hang on.
assistant winemaker, and he's, you know, one of the brains that is in charge of making these delicious wines here. So,
Thank you.
I mean, make sure that we really give him all the love.
And I'm sure you've seen that beautiful face that has in the tasting room too.
Yeah, exactly.
On Saturdays, I'm pouring wine. I'd love to meet you all. But really what we're doing here is trying to curate good food with great wine, or great food with great wine. And that's what these guys are doing. So it's a whole lot of fun to work with them.
Yeah, it's
Thanks,
great. Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks, Tommy.
All right, so enough said from that part. Let's you know, got a little sidetracked, but we're doing good. We're doing
I'm
good.
gonna throw everybody in the mix.
No, it's great. So the next step on this recipe, we're gonna get our Brussels sprouts all cleaned up and prepped out for roasting. The recipe calls for 1.5 pounds of Brussels sprouts. These are our beautiful Brussels sprouts, and we have 1.5 pounds of Brussels sprouts that we're gonna split between the two of us.
Are they from our garden?
They are, yes.
Sure, yeah.
They do come, you know, we did have a little plant of Brussels sprouts that came through really nicely. And these are the remainder of it. Unfortunately, the rest of it did not survive the cold, brutal winter.
Yeah, frost can do a lot to your brassicas, especially if you don't plant them early enough. So what happened to me is I basically planted my Brussels a little bit too late, and the plants weren't sturdy enough to uphold these first couple weeks of frost. So I'm losing quite a bit of what I would have, but we still have these, and we're using the last of them right here tonight for you guys.
So what we're doing with these Brussels sprouts is we're cutting them in half. We're cutting the end off of the Brussels sprout, which the end, what I'm talking about, is the piece that meets with the stalk of the plant. We want to cut that off. And there are going to be some, you know, loose leaves that are going to come off. If that happens, just kind of pull them away. If you do want to keep them into your mix, they will burn really quick. So just be careful and mindful of that. I like to just kind of take the first little layer off of loose leaves on the Brussels sprouts, so that way we don't have that issue with us. So we're just taking that first layer off. That's all we're doing. And the Brussels sprout tells you when it's ready, you know. I mean, you pick off these first little layers, and then everything else just kind of sticks to it really nicely, and that's all you want to keep on there.
Just talks to you.
What's that?
It talks to you.
It talks to you. The food will talk to you. Drink enough wine, and the food will talk to you. How are we all doing out there? Is everyone doing good? Are we all following along? I'm not going too fast or anything. Thumbs up, thumbs down if we're, you know, going a little too fast. So, once we get these all cleaned up and cut in half, we're going to toss them with some olive oil and some salt and pepper.
We've been talking a lot about olive oil tonight, and tomorrow we're gonna start picking this year's harvest of olives, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. It's something that I've never done before. I love the product that we've been able to produce. I think it's amazing, and I'm really excited to get to picking tomorrow and see what we come up with.
We do use that estate olive oil just to kind of retouch what Mikey's talking about. We do use that to garnish our tomato soup that we sell here at the tasting room.
We use it to garnish a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. And I mean, it's a great olive oil. Really good flavor, really grassy, nice little spice to it. Not too spicy. It's got a mild spice to it. Mikey's got one here. We are selling it online. It makes a very, very good holiday gift if you guys want to buy it for, you know, a Christmas gift to give to anyone, to that special chef out there. We do have more than one gift option too on our website to sell. Along with the olive oil, you know, Mikey's been working really hard on making some great teas. And what are some of those teas, honestly?
So in the front of the property, I grew some herbs that are good for teas. I grew shiso, an herb called nepatello, which is kind of minty, and then an herb called lemon verbena. And I processed them all. I dehydrated them, processed and packaged them, so they're available as one of our holiday packages for loose leaf tea. I think they're all really excellent. I can't wait to hear what some of our customers think about them. And it's been the first time for me doing that, and I'm surprised at how well it turned out. And so yeah, if you guys like tea, check it out.
They're really good. It's great for the tea drinkers at home. I think they're fantastic. We've been testing through them, and we're really happy with all the results that came out. And we're excited to share them with you guys. So I hope that you guys will really, you know, buy them up. And on top of that, I mean, we've got hot sauces coming out of the holiday gift packaging. We've got some jams and preserves that we've made too, all from the property, from the grapes around the property. And I mean, there's
even a special seed package curated by Farmer Mikey right here. I'm gonna send you guys some seeds, a little bit of cilantro, some flat leaf parsley, and some Genovese basil. It'll come with a few terracotta pots, so you can start your own little herb garden. I kind of think of it as like a window garden, something you can grow inside your house. And if you wanted to transfer those pots into a bigger bed in a larger garden, you could always do that too.
I might have to get one for myself, honestly.
I hope you do.
I really.
I'm gonna get them as gifts for a bunch of my family.
Yeah, I mean, having an herb garden at home is one of those really, really versatile things that it's really nice to have at home. You know, just to go over to your windowsill and just pick off some parsley, some chives, or even some basil. You know, whatever it is that you have growing in that little herb garden, it's great.
I have a question.
So Taylor's got a question. What's your?
If someone doesn't like Brussels sprouts, I love them. But if someone doesn't like them, what else would you recommend?
So the question was, if somebody doesn't like Brussels sprouts, what could we use in place of the Brussels sprouts?
So I mean, this is a side for
Yeah,
our
exactly.
So you could really use anything that you like.
Sauteed spinach would be great. Some
Swiss chard, broccoli,
Swiss chard,
cauliflower,
kale.
Yeah.
Cauliflower would be fantastic. That would be a really good one. Even if you guys grill it, fire up the grill at home and just kind of give it a good little char on there. But what we're going to do with our Brussels sprouts here is we're going to toss them in some olive oil, in our Estate olive oil. You want a generous amount of olive oil in here. I would say at least 4 tablespoons, if not a little more. You really want to get them nice and coated. The one reason for that being is that you want them to really color up really nicely when you roast them in the oven. And this will help to cook them really well too. We're going to put a little bit of pepper in there as well. Fresh ground black pepper, a little bit of salt in there. And then all we're going to do after that is put it on our sheet tray. I have lined our sheet tray here in the kitchen. We use parchment paper versus aluminum foil to line our sheet trays when we're roasting vegetables or meats. So I've got some parchment paper on there, and we're both going to throw our vegetables on there.
We're just going to share. This is like a family meal tonight.
Exactly. So we're going to put this in a 375 degree oven. We're going to do it for 13 minutes. We're doing no fan. If you have a convection oven, if you do have a fan on your oven, I would do 375 for about 10 minutes, maybe 12. Check them in 10 more than anything. They will cook a lot faster if you have a convection oven, just a heads up. So we're going to go ahead and put those in the oven. We're going to set our timer. All right, so now we're going to kind of come back over to our pots over here and check on our sauce. Our butternut should be somewhat cooked and tender at this point. What we're looking for in this sauce is just to have our squash tender and fully cooked. So we're going to come over here, give it a good little peek. Throw we're looking good. We haven't reduced all of the stock out of it. And it's, I mean, I can break this up with my spatula, so that's kind of my tail, or tall tail sign of these are ready. We're gonna go ahead and kill our heat on this. Go ahead and start giving it a good blend. So at this point, you should have a blender. A food processor works just as well for this. Either one. I like using a blender just because it really, it's got a higher speed of blade speed, and it really makes a really smooth and velvety sauce. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna grab our blender top here. We're gonna pour everything into the pot. And we're not going too crazy with this. We're not doing, too full. Actually, take a little bit out. Now, if your blender doesn't have this, trusty little gadget, which is a plunger, what we call it here in the kitchen. If you have a ladle at home, use the ladle. That works just as well. But because we have this nifty little plunger, we're going to go ahead and use it. Make sure the speed on your blender is turned all the way low, so when you turn it on, it's not skewing everything onto the ceiling and making a giant mess. We're going to go ahead and turn that on. We're going to gradually increase the speed from 1 all the way to high. So I blended it for a good long minute, just until everything is nice and smooth, really incorporated in there. For you guys at home, if for some reason your butternut squash or your squash is not cooked fully yet, go ahead and let it cook a little bit longer. It might take a touch longer for you guys at home. But for us, it is ready. And this is what we're looking for. This really nice, velvety, smooth sauce. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour this into a saute pan back on our stove. So we're going to push this off to the back. I'm going to blend Mikey's really quick and the rest of mine. And we're going to get this show on the road.
I like cooking with you. After you do most of the work for me. It's awesome.
That's what I'm here for.
Thanks.
Here to make your life a little bit easier.
And
that way you can, way you can, drink our delicious wine and enjoy it and tell everybody at home, how good it is.
Is that what I'm supposed to be doing right now?
Yeah.
All right.
That was in your contract.
You insist.
Alright, so we're going to go ahead and blend this one up. Oop, get my towel caught on there. Get off there. Alright, so again, starting at a speed of 1 on our blender, slowly increasing it. So we got our second sauce all ready to go. Another thing too, if you guys don't have a blender at home, if you've got one of those nifty little hand mixers at home, that would work really well for this too.
An immersion blender?
An immersion blender is what they are called. Those wonderful KitchenAid immersion blenders. Oh, I almost got I did get some sauce on this speaker here.
You sauced the mic.
I sauced the mic. Look at me making a mess over here. So, I'm going to go ahead and put this into our second saute pan. Now, just a heads up, we probably will not be using all of this sauce. It is a lot of sauce that we are making. So for you guys at home, if you want to reserve some of the sauce, put it off into a mason jar or a Tupperware of some sort and reserve it. for soups or even future use, you can store it in your refrigerator, store it in the freezer for at least a month or more. It will last in the freezer for quite a while.
Hey, country. What about the pasta? Do the people who have dry pasta
So,
need to start?
At home, if you have dry pasta, go ahead and start cooking your pasta. I was actually getting to that point right now. So, dry pasta, folks at home, go ahead and drop your pasta into your water right now. We're going to go ahead and get that cooking. We are going to get our second saute pan here ready for our pasta cooking. Like I said, we're using fresh spaghetti. I made this yesterday, and it's been sitting in our walk-in, kind of drying out. So it's a little bit more dry. So I'm going to say that this is going to take about 10 or so minutes of cooking. We're going to drop them into our salted water. We want to make it salty like the sea. We really want that pasta to have some flavor. We should be using 15 ounces worth of pasta, or at least 1 pound's worth of pasta if you're using just packaged dry pasta. And drop that into our boiling water, just like so. Another thing too, for you guys at home, make sure that you reserve at least 2 cups worth of pasta water for the making of the sauce, just to kind of thin it out. Honestly, I don't think we're going to need 2 cups worth. I think we'll need about a half cup's worth. And also depends on how you like your sauce at home. If you want to have a really thick sauce, don't add any pasta water into it. Just go ahead and leave it the way that it is. So.
And country, why use pasta water instead of just water?
So the reason that we're using pasta water for our sauce is because the pasta releases a lot of starch into the water, and that starch will help thicken up our pasta or sauce. So general rule of thumb when we're working here in the kitchens and making pastas, we'll add a little bit of pasta water into our sauces because the starches of that from the pasta all are in that water, and it really thickens up the sauce really nicely. So that's what we like to do here when we're working in the kitchen. So if you guys are making, a marinara sauce or of some sort, or heating up a marinara sauce, add a little bit of pasta water in there. Even if you're doing a butter sauce, like brown butter sage sauce, add a little pasta water in there, and it really emulsifies everything and keeps it all together. So we're gonna take a quick sip of our wine before we start cooking. Eat this, delicious Unoaked Chardonnay. While we wait for our pasta to cook. I mean, the good thing is Chris is here to fill up our wine. Oh,
As he is here to fill up all your wine if you come to visit.
exactly. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna get our sauce. I'm gonna start with about half of our sauce.
Nice.
So starting with half of our sauce. We're gonna go to a medium heat on our stove to get this hot. Start with a half a cup of pasta water into your sauce, just to get it going. We have these nifty little baskets, so it makes it easier for us to add some pasta water in there. Give it a good stir. If you have a whisk at home, a whisk will work really well for this point. I'm using a spoon. Kind of give it a good swirl. Make it nice and hot. We're going to let that pasta really cook. Give it a quick check here. Getting there. It's splattered all over the place. Happens. I know it is. So, really quick, while we're waiting for our pasta sauce to kind of heat up and our pasta to cook, just to kind of give you guys a little heads up on what's going on here at the winery. We do have a dinner series coming up this week on Saturday, November 21st, Cooking with Marie. It's going to be really fun. Chris's mom is going to be the guest chef with Shane, and she has come up with this great menu. Her and Shane both have worked together really hard and come up with a wonderful menu. They're doing a garlic butter clams, and they're doing beef bourguignon. Eclairs is going to be our dessert. It's going to be awesome. And there's also one more thing that I can't remember right now, but
Lobster bisque.
Oh, sorry. Lobster bisque is our second course. It is our soup. So super excited for that one. I hope you guys can make it out for this. If you want to join us for this wonderful dinner, go on to bricklervineyards.com, go to the events page, and you will find the dinner series with Marie. Reserve your spot, buy your tickets, come on out. Come say hi to Mikey, Chris, Taylor, Tommy, and I, especially Mark. Make sure you come and say hi to Mark. You know, he'll be here. He'll love to see you guys. So, go ahead and check our pasta one more time. The rest here, like I said, we're using fresh pasta, so it's cooking a lot quicker. It is around a 5 to 8 minute fire on this. Yep, we're done. So, we're cooking our spaghetti to an al dente. Still a little bit of chewiness to it. Grab a basket there, Mike. We're gonna throw that in there. I got this other basket of delicious spaghetti. Another thing too for you guys, if you want to use a different type of pasta for this, you know, I said in the recipe to use linguine or fettuccine. Any pasta would work really good with this. Farfalle pasta would work really well as well. You know, any pasta shape will work with this. It doesn't have to necessarily be a long spaghetti or a fettuccine or linguine. So we're gonna kick up our heat to a high at this point.
Mary has a question.
Mary.
She says, what is the pan you have on the back of the stove?
So the pan that I have on the back of the stove is the reserve sauce because I'm not using all of it. I grabbed a pan and poured all of our sauce in there and realized that there's a lot of sauce in there. So I'm reserving that for future use. I'm going to store it into a plastic container for future use. I'm only using about half the sauce that we made, like I mentioned earlier. And all we're going to do is just really heat up our sauce and let it stick to our spaghetti. You can see it here. It's getting nice and thick and really rich. Woo, make it a mess. At this point, go ahead and turn off the heat. We're about 10 seconds out from having our Brussels sprouts done. Like I said, this is a quick dish, guys. This is not, you know, one of those painstaking dishes. It's about a 20 to 30 minute recipe. So it's a quick, good recipe to do when you're coming home from work, super tired, not sure what to do, but really want something really nice and warm for the soul. This will do all the justice. So we have our Brussels sprouts out here. So all we're doing is looking for, you know, we did this in 13 minutes in a non-fan oven, so a non-convection oven, and it's looking really good. All of our Brussels sprouts are nice and green, nice and tender. They're looking great. So, how's everyone else doing? Are we doing okay? Thumbs up, thumbs down if we're going too fast. Ken says thumbs up.
Mary has another question.
Mary has another question.
She said she meant the pot with different sections.
Are you talking about this pot right here? Yes. So this nifty little gadget here, this is our pasta pot. We have baskets for 4 different compartments of pasta. This is what I'm typically using in this kitchen to cook my pasta. For you guys at home, just a normal large pot of salted water will work fine. But yeah, this is our pasta pot. We are able to have multiple different types of pastas in here, usually 4 at a time, or whatever we want to do.
And then Joanne also has a question. She says, what do you add to the sauce to make soup?
What I would recommend for the sauce to make soup, either cream, about 2 cups worth of cream into this would be really good if you want to go that route. If you're trying to keep this vegan, like I was saying, this is a vegan dish at this point, minus the Parmesan cheese over the top. If you want to keep it vegan, coconut milk would be really, 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 really good with this. But cream would be really good. A little knob of butter too at the end, just to really give you that nice richness, would be really nice. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move over to our other camera, and we're going to start plating everything up. Like I said, guys, if there's any other questions or if we're going too fast, you know, type it into the chat room, give us a thumbs down, wave your arms, jump up and down. We will notice we have
Whatever. Oh, there they go. Maybe.
Can you guys hear me now? Thumbs up if you can hear me, thumbs down if you can't. Oh, I see a thumbs up from Sherry. There we go. We're good. We're back.
Yes.
So, if you guys didn't hear that a second ago, we were saying if you want more texture on your Brussels sprouts, we did oven roast these. If you want something more crispy, you can oven roast them first, so that way they're fully cooked through. And then once they come out of the oven, get a saute pan with some olive oil or a little bit of butter in there, and get it really, really hot as possible. Put in your Brussels sprouts on one side and get a nice golden brown crust on one side of them, and then finish it with some butter. And it makes a really, really good alternate side dish as well for the holidays. But this is kind of what we're looking for. With everybody else, make sure you put up your dishes and show us. Is everybody else doing okay? I mean, did we go too fast? Oh, I see Mary. She's showing up hers right now.
Yeah, Mary.
There we go, Mary. I like what you see or what you got there. That looks great. Everybody else, make sure when you're done with the pasta, put everything up on the camera. Let us see. Make sure you tag us in all of our social media. If you're posting this on Facebook, at Brickler Vineyards, Instagram as well, at Brickler Vineyards. Oh, there you go. Look at Mary. Son's showing it off. He's real happy. Look at him. He's real excited. There you go. Little camera shy. How are you, Kevin? How are we doing? Colleen?
What do you got, Colleen?
See everybody kind of pulling things out of the oven.
Time for a toast to stall.
Yeah. Now we're gonna enjoy this delicious wine. And another thing too for you guys, next week we will be back on Sunday with Cooking with Country Part 8. We're doing Thanksgiving sides. We'll be doing some lemon, garlic, roasted Brussels sprouts, and some haricots verts with almonds and cranberries as well. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, for the holidays too, we mentioned holiday packages for the food, the teas. Did you guys talk about the spices, the hot sauces?
I did mention the hot sauce.
Hot sauces. We've got also seasoned salts.
I forgot about the seasoned salt.
Especially
Did not talk
curated
about those.
salts. Chef Shane's been hard at work, curating. I believe there's a fennel pollen salt. There's serrano pepper salt. There's a couple more in there.
Yep.
Beyond that, we've got some special
Spice rubs.
spice rubs. We've got some boxes that we're curating with other local producers. Candles, scented oils. And a spa package as well with special, I don't know what you call that, but something to cover your eyes, a face mask, an eye mask, scented candle, some essential oils and things like that. Yeah.
We also have a lot of wine packages too. We have an amazing all Pinot package, a Chardonnay package. It's got a reserve Chardonnay and Pinot in there. We got some oils and our sparkling package too, which is really nice. If you guys are looking for corporate gifting for your company or even your friends, please look on the website. If a package doesn't work for you, please email us and we can work on a package with you guys. But we would love to help out your needs for this Christmas or holidays, and we look forward to it.
Look at Sharon's plate. That looks
Sharon's all, I mean, look at that.
Sharon's plate is looking great.
I think
right
she
now.
kind of beat you two. Sorry.
Good
Good job, Sharon.
Hope Sharon beat us. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Two thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
How about everybody else? How are we all doing? Is everyone getting to the plating?
Oh, yeah.
Kevin, there you go. I like what. Yep, there. That looks great.
Kevin.
Tim? Ooh, that looks delicious. See your sauce. How about Sherry? See you guys getting the whiskey. Or the wine? It looked like whiskey to me. I don't know.
Maybe just stemless.
Oh,
glass.
it's wine.
I also want to mention, we will be open during the holiday season. We are closed Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day, but we'll be open before Thanksgiving, right after Thanksgiving Day, that Friday, and then we'll be open Christmas Eve, and then close that Saturday, but reopen on Sunday. So bring your friends, family. I know that it's getting cold out there, raining sometime, but we do have some covered patio area that we can host you guys in, and we have lots of heaters for you guys. So, we will be open, and so please come see us, and look forward to meeting your friends and family. And
Sherry says they're waiting for some crispier Brussels sprouts.
Ah, I see what we're doing, Sherry. Oh, Mary's back on. I see a thumbs up.
Oh.
Nice. It's time to eat. Looks like over
Yeah,
there.
they're ready to go. How's everybody else doing? We all doing okay?
Where's Steve and Pam Conte?
Steve and Pam.
Kim, what do you got? You got anything going right now? Oh, nutritional yeast? Oh, you just blended it. All right, well, like I said earlier, with all your final product, make sure you take lots of photos, tag us on all of our Facebook, our Instagram. We will be back next week for our Thanksgiving special, doing some Thanksgiving sides. And past that, we do have Cooking with Santa in December. It's a really exciting one. Santa will be here on property with us cooking cookies, and then we're doing a second one as well and doing some savory dishes with him. And I believe we're making pizza, snowman-shaped pizzas.
That sounds incredible, and I can't wait to see what that
Super
looks
excited
like.
for that.
Yeah.
And to have Santa here too. I mean, that's a big deal.
It's already done.
I mean, make sure you guys
Santa's
tune in for the Santa special. He will be here with us answering all the questions. Make sure your kids tune in and ask him all the questions too. He will be here with us in person. So it is really exciting to be doing that. And we hope to see you guys here on the property. So thank you for joining. We'll
Thanks
see you
so
all
much,
next
guys.
time. Have a great night.
See you
Enjoy
next
the
week.
wine.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.